Welcome everybody to another CTC software webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Tony Crick. I'm the Civil Product Manager here at CTC. Today we're going to talk about Template Tracker, some of the new features, and a little bit more about how it works. So in the past year, we've been working really hard to improve all of our tools, and Template Tracker is no different. We do all of our improvements for the most part from suggestions from people like you out there, and we appreciate your input. So as we go along here, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the question pane and we'll try to get to them during the webcast. If we can't, we will certainly get to them when we are finished. And as always, these webinars are recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel shortly after today's presentation. So let's get going. Template Tracker is part of the Sim Manager suite of tools, which is intended for CAD managers or Civil 3D users supporting a production team. It will work in the last 4 versions back, so 24 back to 2020, so 5 overall. When Autodesk Civil 3D 2025 comes out sometime in March, we will be dropping our support to 2020. So those of you that are on 2020, I suggest upgrading at least 1 version. So from Civil 3D styles to AutoCAD text leaders and dimensions, finding reference to all these styles can be a bit of a maze. What if you don't know where a text style is being used? What if you don't like what Civil 3D style is using a certain layer? Template Tracker will allow you to quickly track and then edit references to most of these style definitions to rid templates of those old pesky layer and annotation style references. Works well for updating your drawing templates in particular. So today we're going to see what's new in our latest versions. Like I said, the last year we've been working very hard to improve all of our tools, and this one's no different. So we're going to locate the use of layers in Civil 3D styles and show how to quickly make edits to those. We're going to track where text styles are being used in Civil 3D styles, blocks, and more. And we'll quickly swap out drawing objects use of any text style, leader, or dimension styles. Hopefully we'll have time to get to all of that. So what's new? Well, we can now find style references. So for your Civil 3D styles, we can find what they're referencing to, and we can use that in conjunction with Style Manager to help change any other things we want to do in there. And then we can also identify any missing styles. So if things are missing within a style, you probably wouldn't know it without running Template Tracker. And then we'll show you where Style Manager can be used to identify those things. We also added blocks to the object list. That was a fairly recent update, probably 2 releases ago. We're up to 24.4 right now, by the way, which just came out a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't updated, I suggest that you do. So what else did we do? We added plot styles and references to layer plot styles. So now we can change any plot style that references a color, or if it's a style base, we can do that too. We can also do a right click to zoom and find any entities to see if we want to change those, what they might be used for, and so on. That's actually been around since 23.6, I believe. But maybe if you've been using our tool, you didn't know that that was there. And so now we can also track corridor references with the specific corridor name. So why template tracker? As we stated before, drawing templates can be pretty messy and therefore inconsistent. And then updating your templates can get confusing. So our manager suite of tools is really designed to help take care of that time-consuming task. And the tedious layer editing line by line in Layer Manager and Style Manager, we can get to those too. So we can identify where objects are being used and by what. And like I said before, it kind of works alongside a Style Manager and some of our other tools, Layer Boss as well. And then we can swap and edit for multiple styles at once. And as I mentioned before, we can zoom to entities to see where they're at. We can edit the style layers within assemblies. And we can even change current styles and layers for that matter. And as always, we have no proprietary settings or objects. Everything we use works off of Civil 3D stuff. So you can start with the templates that you have. And then you can clean up those templates a lot easier. So we don't have any more going rogue out there, which keeps things consistent and eliminates some of the surprises when it comes to drawing production time. So with that, let's get to some of the features that we've added. So first in here, let's go ahead and let's find some style references. So with that, we can open up Template Tracker. And for those of you that haven't used it before, let's take a quick look at the user interface here. So as with all of our tools, we have the About right here. Or we can get at some of the things that we can up there, like the About, the videos, which this will be posted shortly, as I mentioned before. We have all these things. We have similar stuff up here for quickly jumping to those. Here's where you can find out what version you're on. And our options are simply these two right here. So some of the objects we can look for are layers, text styles, dimension styles, multi-leader styles, line types, and like I said, we added plot styles and blocks recently to the list as well. And they all work within your annotation tab and or your tool space settings. So let's start by showing you how the filter works right here. So let's find a basic or find an assembly. Show you how we can get at our assembly layers. So if I use the filter, you can see that it starts to populate down below. It is case sensitive, so keep that in mind. So if I go here and I click on one of these, we can see the assemblies that it's used in. So here's the road assembly baseline. So with this, I can come in here. I could swap this layer straight out. I could put it on this C road assembly, which it isn't a part of right now as we see. In fact, it is right here. So with this, I can grab this right here and I can edit the style layers within that assembly. So if I wanted to change any of the layers within here, you'll get this dialog box right here if you wanted to change any of the pieces. So we know what all of these parts to it are. So what else can it do? Let's look for blocks within this drawing. So this drawing right here you can see is sort of a base drawing with a bunch of drawing or blocks and other things in here. So let's jump to blocks. So here we have several different multi-leader within the blocks right here. Let's add one. From our annotation tab, let's go to multi-leaders. First, let me set it to this one. I'll add a multi-leader tag. Call it 5. I'm going to change my scale for that. So let's put another one in here. Let's put in this circle one. I'll call that 3. So what if we were adding these keynote things to a drawing? And let's say we had, let me just copy this one. Change that number. Call that 7. So if you had a drawing and you wanted to change a bunch of these 7s, but you knew they needed to be a different type, they wanted to be this hex type right here. We could change all of those at once. By coming in here, opening up our blocks, and if we come down here to the circle one, now it lists them individually right here. So we know all these 7s are their circles. So what if we wanted them to the octagon one? So I can swap this block out for this octagon. Now it only shows that one. If I click here, it shows all 3 of those, and it changed those. So you can see how we could quickly update, fix anything in a drawing with the blocks right there. So let's open up Template Tracker again. Let's go to layers here. I think I'm in the wrong drawing for this example. Let me change drawings here. Let's try it. Well, let me jump ahead a little bit. Let's talk about our missing styles in a template. So if we had a template that we were trying to open here, come back to that line in a second, and I open Template Tracker. So this is what I was talking about before, where something's missing. So Template Tracker previously would error if it didn't find anything. Well, we still can't fix it with Template Tracker itself because it simply doesn't know where these missing things are at. But if things are missing, you'll get this little warning and it tells you where to look for those. And we say to go to Style Manager to help you find those things. And that's all included with the Manager's suite of tools. So let's do what it says. So we have alignments and parcels. We want to look for what could be missing. So something is missing in those two table styles. So with this note right here, it helps us out. So we can't even run Template Tracker until we fix those problems. And how would you know where those problems were if you were just starting out? You wouldn't even know they were there. But if I came in here and I went to table styles, I think line was one of them. I actually don't even know which one it was, but something's missing there. So let's go back to Style Manager. We can find this very easily with Style Manager. So we know something's missing and it's related to tables. So we can turn our filters off right here to narrow this down to our tables. And then we know it's in alignments and we know it's in parcels. So we can just open those up. So if I pop across here and look for what's missing, right away I see that we've got some missing text for these styles right here. So if we come back across over here, we can see it's in curves. And we could narrow that down even further if we wanted to, if we had a whole bunch of them. So we come in here and we can set these to whatever style we want. So I can do those two at the same time. These aren't very many, but if you had a whole bunch of them missing, you certainly could do a drag on that. If I wanted to change all of these to the same thing, I could. If I wanted to change any number of these to that. So let's just fix those up right here. I'm going to intentionally leave this one blank to show you what happens here. So let's change that one. So like I said, I'm going to leave that one blank. I'm going to apply these now to the drawing. I'll go ahead and close it. And we'll open Template Tracker again. Now, since I didn't fix that one, we're still going to get this message, but now you see the others dropped off. So now we can go right to parcel line table style to fix that one. So anything I click right here is going to close Template Tracker. But if we open Style Manager again, now we can narrow that down. Parcel, table, I believe it was line. And there's our missing style right there. We could also search for blanks if we wanted to, right here. Now, I wouldn't expect this to happen to you very often, but sometimes if you're promoting, you might be promoting an old template drawing and it might come with some blank stuff. However somebody did it, we can find that and fix that right here. So I click to another box. I'm going to say apply. I'm going to say OK. And go ahead and close our Style Manager. And now Template Tracker will open just fine. And now we can get at those missing styles or carry on for whatever we wanted to do right here. So let's go to our line types. So we have many different line types right here. And I know that this line right here, this construction limit line, is using a text style that's different from all the others. So we have these wingding ones in here to get these symbols in here. Let's take a look at that line a little closer. So that's what the line looks like with those complex textiles in there. So I come back up here and I open up my textiles again, and I see these wingdings. I don't even know where they're being used. So that one apparently isn't being used. That one is the current style for whatever reason. And it's used in this line type right here. So we said we can change the current style, right? So that's the current style. Wingding 2, we probably don't want that. So we can go ahead and swap that out. And we'll set it to the standard one right here. So now we know this construction limit is using this wingding 3. But what if we wanted it to be one of these other wingdings? Let's see what that looks like when we do that. So change that out, close it. Let me do a refresh on that. And that's what it looks like now. So if you want to make a different symbol in that line, you could certainly take care of that with your style manager. Now, if you ever worked with those wingding type styles for symbols, what have you, we don't know what that text actually is. But what we can do is we can also change that to a text if we wanted to. So let me swap that out just for fun, see what that looks like with a regular text in there. So if I regen, now I get a couple of letters right there with the fun wingding thing. But let's just set it back to the original wingding 3, I believe it was. Oops. Where did my line type go? There it is. And again, I could have filtered that right here. So you see, as I start typing that out, then that's all I can see. So it makes it a lot easier to find it. So we'll put it back to that wingding 3, and we'll move on. So what else can we do? Let's check some of our plot styles. We talked about we added plot styles, and we have both for CTB and STB. So however you use your plot styles, we can now get at those types of things. So I come in here and I open up my plot styles. We're going to get this dialog box that gives us all the colors we can pick from. If you have a STB, you'll see any of the styles that you have attached to that. So let's just go, let's see what's in. Most of these are by layer. Most things are in there. By block, we have a lot of these alignment styles. We have things in there by block. Let's go to color 1. Let's see what we have in there. So we see we have a layer called Align Spots right here. So we can cross-reference that back and see what that's all about. Let's see what is all on this layer right here. So maybe we want to change it, maybe we don't. But the power of the template tracker allows us to quickly get to those. So I'm going to use my filter to get at that. Align, and I guess it isn't case sensitive. I thought it was. But it's this one right here. So what do we have on there? We have some marker styles, and we can edit these style layers if we want to. We can change just how that works inside of there, or we can change the whole layer itself. Anything that would be in there, we can change to that. So let's change that out. I don't in this one. Let's go back to this drawing right here and talk about those assemblies again. So we have some assemblies in here, and we can get at whatever is in those assembly layers. And I know we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but I just wanted to show you how we can change the whole thing at once. So again, we have all these parts right here, and we have the basic one that's on this C road. But what if we wanted it on this C road assembly? So if I change this to that layer, it will change the whole thing. But it won't affect the layers within it. So they all stayed the same. All we did was change the assembly itself and what layer that lands on. So let me move on to two more examples I wanted to show you here of some of our new features. So now we can get at our command reference, some of our command reference settings too. So if you've ever had these before and you can't find where things are, let's use this one for our example. Whoops, not the point styles, but our commands right here. And where do those things go? Where are they going by default? Well, maybe a lot of you didn't even know that this is here. If we open that up here and I check my default layer, it's been set to V topo. Now we can change some of our stuff in our ambient settings, some other things using our layer boss and our object layers right here, but that doesn't affect something like this. So if you ever wondered what layer, how is this ending up, it's coming from right there. But we can find that out very easily also with Template Tracker. So if I open this back up again, and I go to my layers, and it's this V topo down here. So here are the things that it's on. So it says command settings right here. That's new to be available to reach out to there. And we also have what your defaults might be too. So what if we really wanted it just to come on this V node layer? Pretty simple. I grab it here. Again, and you can scan this list. You could type command up here as your filter to find some of these things fairly quickly. Again, if we had a whole bunch of other layers, this one is just for survey. So if I just change it right there, drops off the list. This is now my command. So every point I bring in by default will come in on this if it's not controlled by a description key set. So if I open this back up and we look, we'll see that that has changed now to V node. So kind of a handy way to find things and fix them or change them as we go. And we can also do the same thing right here. Some of these drawing settings we showed with Layer Boss last week and how we get at that stuff through object layers and stuff like that. But we can also get to some of these other defaults. And this one, it's a similar problem that happens out there. So the layer or the label comes in by default to standard, but what if we didn't want that? So let's go back. What if we want to use our own company standard for that? So if we check our text styles and we see what's on standard, well, there's a whole bunch of other things on there. And here's our default right here. So I want to change that default to be our standard. So if you're going through any of these any of these styles right here, you can see what is the default. Let's see what it is for dimensions. So right now it's defaulted to the standard again. So a pretty quick way to change any of these defaults as we go along here. Let me close that. Let's go look at that again to show you what happened. So again, if I come in here, did I not save it? I must not have saved it. Let's do that again. Never hurts to show you twice. So again, come in here, text styles, standard. There it is. I'll swap that. Say OK. Now it's gone. Is it? Okay, that should have taken care of it. I see we're running out of time. Let's move to one more. Let's do our corridors tracking. So we can also do some corridor tracking in here. So by that, I mean these corridors. We have 3 different corridors in here. We have one there, we have one there, we have one there. So if I come to my template tracker right here, and they might all be on the same layer, but you might not want them to be. If I type in C, I think they're on road. I didn't notice when we did that. C road corridor, let's see. So here they all 3 are. So here's what I mean by we can track them. So every corridor now we see that's on this layer are divided out. So if I wanted to put any one of these on a separate layer, I would know that I need to create this layer if I didn't have one already and move them to that layer. I'm just going to drop this one. We'll just put it on this center. So now if I go here, you see it dropped off of the list and is now on that layer. So that's pretty much what's new with Template Tracker. Of course, you saw a lot of other things we can do with Template Tracker. And I encourage you to try out some of those new features. Oh, I didn't show you the zoom to, did I? Let's go back to this one right here. Let's find something with an entity. I think any line type should have an entity associated with it. So we saw something right there. Well, here's those. Can't zoom to everything, but we can zoom to a lot of stuff. There's one. So I can zoom to that line right there. And what it does is it comes out here, it highlights that line that it's on right there. It also pulls up, if you use quick properties like I do, all the information to it right here that you can see what it's all about. So kind of a handy thing to see if that's something you want to change as you go along here. Pretty generic line. What is that? Here we can zoom to something like that right there. So we know the number right there. We can zoom to those also. So with that, that's all I had to show you today. So again, it's part of the CTC Sim Manager suite of tools. We're now on version, as I mentioned before, 24.4. We also have our Sim Project suite for the everyday user, also at 24.4. If you don't have it and you would like to get it, contact your local reseller. If it's not available through them, you can contact us here at our website, ctcsoftware.com. And as always, if you have any ideas or need help, you can contact us here at support. And please give us any of your ideas, as I mentioned before. All of our tools are created for you, and we take all of your suggestions to heart and try to make them work for you. But thank you for joining us today for the CTC webinar. I hope you found it useful, and we hope to see you again next time.